with this whole situation here that he is unwilling to take into account the fact that Jeff Sessions has done something seriously wrong here, or maybe he probably knows that, and he knows this is going to be very damaging, and pretty much put the nail in the coffin in this obstruction of justice case. I mean, this is, again, obstruction of justice here. You're obstructing the obstruction of justice case technically if you can't let him get to the point he's trying to get to here, or if you impede that anyway. And talking to Mr. Sessions, you're going to need to talk to Mr. Sessions here. Trump agreed Mr. Trump has agreed to answer the special counsel's questions. Giuliani said in an interview, again, is the subject of continuing negotiations. Giuliani said that he had not discussed Sessions' recusal with Trump, but that a request that Mr. Sessions reassert control over the rest of the investigation would be within the bounds of the president's authority. Unrecused doesn't say bury the investigation. It says, on the face of it, take responsibility for everything and handle it correctly. I mean, but if he says, here's the thing, if he says he wants a loyalist on the campaign, if he says he wants a loyalist leading the investigation, someone who's loyal to him, like, that's, on the face of it, that's inappropriate. That's not how an investigation should be led. People who are serving the president, investigating him, or people with any ties at all to the president in any kind of, like, subservient way, that's a major, major problem that they are investigating him. And the fact is, there's evidence out there, apparently, to say that Trump wanted a loyalist running, and he wanted Jeff Sessions. So it kind of does say bury the investigation, and it's something that Trump has asked other people to do. So, I mean, it's not that far-fetched, and there very possibly could be evidence that Trump asked Sessions, get back in there and bury this investigation. But, okay, let's go. So a Justice Department spokeswoman declined to comment. To the president, no decision has proved more devastating during his time in office than Sessions' recusal. In Trump's view, Sessions, who had been one of his closest political allies and the earliest prominent supporter in Washington, would have never appointed special counsel, as the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein did last May after the president abruptly fired Mr. Comey. So, and he's probably right about that. And that's why having someone not appoint a special counsel when one badly needs to be appointed is going to be very, very helpful to the president, and that's why the problem is having this guy in there would be a major problem for corruption and corruption issues really all across the country, and to me that's what's really concerning. So no, Rudy Giuliani, the fact is you're going to have a big, big problem if you make that case that Sessions was corrupt and not uncorrupted, free of any influence. Thank you so much for staying with us this morning. Roseanne Barr lost her popular television show, Roseanne, the sitcom on ABC, because she posted a racist Islamophobic comment on Twitter in which she suggested that Valerie Jarrett, a longtime advisor to former President Barack Obama, looked like an ape and was part of a secret Muslim plot. One of the original screenshot of the tweet by the name of Scott Tobias allowed us to read the tweet, which read as follows. And it was one of those disgusting tweets where it's like in a long thread, and then you find, Celebrity, one of the most popular shows on ABC, and the most popular show on all TV, broadcast TV at late night right now, Roseanne Barr tweeting about the former VJ, which is Valerie Jarrett, Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of Apes had a baby equals VJ, as in Valerie Jarrett, the advisor. So that kind of lost her show and caused an uproar this past morning or yesterday. And she has had some of these moments in the past. It's been a little bit sketchy for her down the road. She's done some things like have an episode where she goes to a Muslim neighbor's house, and she prays and hopes. She comes literally with a baseball bat to pray and hope that they weren't making bombs and making terrorists, and being terrorists, or that she was going to blow them up. So yeah, she's really kind of a lunatic and a psychopath. So she later though posted kind of an apology of sorts in which she apologized to all Americans, reading quote, "I apologize to Valerie Jarrett and to all Americans. I'm truly sorry for making a bad joke about her politics and her looks. I should have known better. Forgive me. My joke was in bad taste. So, I mean, you do kind of really have to understand here, this is a deeper situation with Roseanne than just one joke here. She's definitely had a disturbing history of this in the past, and the fact that she was revived and renewed and gotten a reboot on her show was definitely a little bit sketchy. And she's losing all her deals now. Her talent agency dropped her, I heard, which is a pretty good thing. Because this is a popular opinion, I mean, what seems like anyway, among the Trump supporter, the Trump base. Like, this is what they view minorities and people are just trying to do good in this country. For example, Valerie Jarrett, her record, her credentials to serve in the capacity she served are pretty impressive. And the fact that she has to be degraded by this crackpot lunatic who probably has, like, all her writers literally all quit today, just shows you, I mean, they have, like, who really puts in the effort for the show. Hint, hint, it's the writers. But they, it's really been a rough go of it for her, and she deserves it. She does pretty much everything she got to, because the point is, she, if you don't know, and unfortunately, we kind of have to get into her background here. As Jodi Kantor explained in the New York Times 2008, Jarrett was born in 1956 to African-American parents who were not Muslim in the Iranian city of Shiraz, where her father, a physician, had taken a job after being offered a lower salary than his white peers in Chicago. Far from being an Islamic theocracy at the time, Iran was ruled by the Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, a close ally of the United States, who had been restored to power by a CIA-led coup in 1953. So, no surprise here, Roseanne seems to have no idea what in the hell she's talking about, and her racist trope that goes back years and years and years and represents years and years and years of discrimination was awful, and as ABC said, it was abhorrent, it was racist, and they did the right thing by stopping this racist from having any sort of future success, which is incredibly good, and I think it's very beneficial for what we need. Because it's like, people are making comparisons to, oh, that's what Trump said, but it's really, if you think about it, it's kind of not, because this is a much, people are making comparisons, to Bill Maher, because Bill Maher called Trump a gorilla or an orangutan or whatever, and they're saying, oh, conservatives are like, oh, now he should be fired, which is frankly pretty ridiculous, because you have to understand, calling black people gorillas was something they did back in the Jim Crow era, and it's got such a strong history behind it. When you imply a black person is that, just literally calling black people apes is not an accepted good way to behave yourself in 2018. Like, wisen up here. Like, good on ABC. And I gotta say, it took them long enough. All right, we'll get back to the show right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to today's show. We will be back. We got our last story coming up in a very short period of time, and I do want to take a moment, though, to tell you about this. The Spencer Walsh Show is back. Join us June 8th at 8 p.m. for 15 new episodes of SWRN's flagship podcast, dedicated to discussing the most important news of the day with the best music in between. The Spencer Walsh Show, with 15 new episodes beginning June 8th at 8 p.m. on SWRN, is the most me podcast there is, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking pop culture news of the day with Trump, everything going on in the world, from the small to the big, and we're also going to play the best music in the world in between those segments. What could possibly be better? I'll tell you, nothing. Join us 8 p.m. on June 8th for the premiere episode, and all the way throughout our planned all-new 15-episode run every Friday down the road. The Spencer Walsh Show, June 8th at 8 p.m. Only on the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to today's show. We got to turn to Stacey Abrams and the Democratic women in 2018. The question went out late one night on a private message chain of insurgent female candidates for Congress. Do you really attack a fellow Democrat? So it's a big question. These people are trying to grapple with not just women, just everyone who is running for election anywhere, who is on the progressive side of things. It's a little bit of problem. I feel like I've been pulling punches, wrote Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's been a challenging long-time Democratic incumbent, Joe Crowley of New York in a primary. Do you ever get any pushback from voters who don't want party infighting? Within hours, her peers from Texas, Washington State, North Carolina, now Washington, D.C., they've all weighed in and they saying, keep up the fight. We're not trying to ask permission to get in the door. Ocasio-Cortez, a 28-year-old organizer at Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign, said in an interview, we're trying to burn it down. No, she didn't say that. But she's pretty much making that point there. And I mean, you gotta love Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's one of the races I'm most excited about this year. She's one of the strongest progressive, really a big fan favorite within the progressive community. Gotta love her. She's challenging Joe Crowley, who is probably one of the most right-wing. He's right up there with Joe Manchin. He doesn't get that much coverage, but he's right up there with Joe Manchin in terms of how many times he caves to the Republicans and how weak he is on all these policy issues, which is very disturbing. So anyway, yeah, as Democratic women for the House, state and Senate offices in historic numbers this year, many are bucking the careful and cautious ways of politics. As Stacey Abrams showed last week, a black woman can win the Democratic nomination for governor in Georgia by running a proudly liberal campaign, for instance. For dozens of these candidates, confronting President Trump and winning seats in offices for Democrats are not the only goals. They want to run and win on their own terms. Some are coming for their own party, and many are not waiting their turn, as past generations were mostly content to do. I mean, there's no time to wait your own turn. There is no time to wait your own turn. We can't sit by and wait. It's just not that time. We got Trump in office. We got weak, pathetic, castrated Democrats all over the place, and we cannot let them rule. We cannot let them have any power anymore. We need to take back the House. We need to take back the Senate. We need to do anything and everything we possibly can. Beat Republicans. Primary weak Democrats. Do it all, okay? Primaries are good. Primary anyone you want because it helps the party and it makes sure the strongest person is always in office. If you ever think about running for office and you think, oh, should I primary someone? The answer is yes. The answer is pretty much always yes. And, I'm not going to say for every scenario because I don't know every scenario, but for a far majority of the time, it is good to primary someone. It helps the party in the end. You're helping your own party by doing what you're doing here, and it is good. It is very good. And it's not okay. It's okay. People are finally realizing, thank God, it's okay to lean left because, I mean, look at the far right. They've been doing this for 8 years. 8 years they've been starting off this whole I'm super far right kind of thing. What are you going to do about it? And they look at the success they've had. Like, I think someone should try being far left for a change and see where it takes us, and be aggressive about it too. And that's going to be one of the most important things down the road. So, yeah. Like Abrams, many of these challengers are women who lean left, and many of them are women of color, raising pointed questions for the Democratic Party wrestling with its relationship to identity politics. I mean, so what? They're women of color. It's a good making of history thing to say, all right, cool, first woman of color. But what are the policies? My personal unsolicited advice here: run on the policies. Run on the policies that you have, that you know are going to make things better for Americans all over the place, all over your district, all over your state if you're running for Senate, and really focus on those policies because that's what you want to focus on. You don't want to focus on the fact, oh, you're a black woman. I mean, not so that you would, but just saying stick away from that. It just does not seem to be necessary. It does not seem to be good. It doesn't seem to be really working for everyone. You have to focus on the policies that you think will make America better or great, and don't give up on them.